Welcome to Ancient Life Hacks. I am Jared Madsen. I have a master's degree in Chinese medicine. I spent many years living in China. I am fluent in Chinese, and I am also fascinated with all types of ancient cultures and stories, and especially practical things from these ancient cultures from around the world that we can use in our lives today. If you're interested in that, please subscribe to this channel, check out my website, ancientlifehacks.com, and join our newsletter. And leave comments in the comments section, ideally positive comments, because we're all about positivity here. And any questions or topics that you would like to see, please go ahead and do that. All right, now that we have that out of the way, let's dive into today's topic. Today's topic is various cooking methods. So not just Chinese cooking methods, but definitely Chinese cooking methods as well, but various cooking methods and how Chinese medicine looks at those. Are they good? Are they bad? It's usually not that black and white. There are many nuances to just about everything. So we're going to dive into various cooking methods, see the benefits and potential pitfalls of those, and help us make the best decision of what kind of cooking methods we want to use. Oftentimes, we talk about, is this food good for you? Is that bad? First off, the whole conversation of something is good or bad is a little too basic of a conversation to have, simply because foods have different properties and different effects on the body, and understanding your body type and what you may need or don't need, you're going to get a better understanding of, and also your goals, right? Are you looking at being a bodybuilder? Or are you looking at having just, longevity? Like, what are your goals? So looking at which types of foods and whether they're good or bad is a very nuanced and big conversation. We are not going to have that conversation, though. The conversation we're going to have is what type of cooking, because usually we don't even really think of that. We just go, oh, you should eat broccoli because it's good for blah, blah, blah. But what does that mean? Do you eat boiled broccoli? Do you eat raw broccoli? Do you steam it? Do you stir fry it? Is that important? Does it make a difference? I would argue it is very important. It makes a huge difference. If you're on a diet that's virtually no processed foods, ideally no processed foods, and refined sugars, things like that, you're eating whole foods, the next question you should be asking yourself is, how do I cook these? Because that is very, very important for receiving those nutrients and vitamins, as we would say in Western science or in Chinese medicine, and getting the right flavors and the right temperatures and the qi and everything like that to assimilate with our body and give us the most benefits that we can get. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we talk about that, though, I want to briefly talk about the containers. So I'm not going to go deep into the containers, but we're going to look at two main elements used in cooking ware. One is going to be earthenware, right? Clay pots, things like that. Anything that is made from dirt, basically clay. Okay, clay sounds better. We'll call it clay. And then the other would be metals, all types of metal pots. So we're just going to look at these as two categories. One is going to be the earthenware clay, and the other is going to be metals. The earthenware pot is made from earth. Earth is one of the 5 elements, as is metal. Earth connects with your spleen, pancreas, stomach, so your digestion. So from the get-go, we have an element that specifically harmonizes with the organs used in digestion. Therefore, earthenware is an amazing starting point, whereas metal is not. Okay, metal connects with the lungs, there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't have those balancing properties that earthenware does. And so from that point of view, if you can use earthenware, I would generally recommend it. Now, some of these cooking styles you cannot. It's not how it works. But if you can, we definitely want to make whatever we're eating, assuming it's good food, to be as easily digestible as possible. And earthenware has its starting point as a one-up on any kind of metal pot. Okay, so balancing of yin and yang. Earthenware pots are believed to have natural cooling properties when food is cooked in these pots. The slow and even heat distribution is thought to help preserve the yin energies of ingredients. As a result, earthenware pots are often used for dishes that are intended to have cooling and moistening effects. If you're dry, this is good. Okay, enhance flavor, that's kind of a thing. The porous nature of earthenware pots allows for slow evaporation and the concentration of flavors, right? That is why a lot of these are used in things like stews and things like that. And this is not limited to Chinese cooking. I mean, I think every culture uses earthenware pots in one way or another to cook for various dishes that they have. So these principles apply to no matter what foods you're cooking, what cultures you're in. The gentle heat of earthenware pots is believed to help preserve the nutritional content of ingredients, as it does not subject them to high temperatures that cause nutrient loss. We will see that more in some of the cooking methods later down, the loss of nutrients due to excessive heat, and then digestibility, which we talked about. The even distribution, heat distribution in earthenware pots can make food easier to digest, especially for individuals with weak digestion. So if you have a weak digestion, earthenware pot, all the better. If you don't have a weak digestion, hey, there's no harm in protecting your stomach and your digestion, so use earthenware. Metal pots are good as well, such as stainless steel or cast iron, are generally considered to have warming properties. Oh, that's also good because guess what? The body is warm. Don't know if you noticed that. When food is cooked in these pots, they may introduce yang energy into the dish. This makes metal pots suitable for dishes that need warming and invigorating effects. So if you are a little on the cool side, metal pots, that's also a good way to go. Metal pots heat up quickly and evenly, whereas earthenware, it takes forever. So that's just a practical thing. You know, versatility, yes, metal is much more versatile than earthenware. Cast iron's a good one if you're going to be using metal. Have excellent heat retention properties. This makes them suitable for dishes that benefit from slow, steady cooking. We talked about that a little bit in the earthenware. The earthenware does generally a better job at keeping that balance, but like cast iron is very good for the whole thing just heating up evenly, which is what you want. You don't Generally, it's what you want. I don't know, maybe there's some cooking styles that you don't want, but generally you want all the food heated evenly. Metal pots can absorb and transfer flavors from previous cooking, whether you want it or not, which can be desirable in some cuisines, but may not be ideal for dishes that require a neutral taste. Yeah, if you don't want your dish to taste a little bit like what you made in your last meal, maybe not. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through various cooking methods and some of the benefits and some of the non-benefits. The order is generally from good to not so good, but again, all of this is nuanced. I would not say that there is one cooking method. They're just different. Right? There are a few that are going to be better. There are a few that maybe we don't use as frequently. But again, sometimes you got to look at your body type, especially according to Chinese medicine diagnosis. And we can go through some of that. And you may find that certain types of cooking are really good for you, where they might not be good for most people. So again, it's all in the details here. Stir fry. Okay. Let's pause for a second. What do we mean by stir fry? Generally, when you're cooking at home, stir fry is you use some oil, right? There's some oils that are better than others. We're not going to have that discussion right now, but you're using an oil, but you're not using a lot, right? Chinese cooking done at home usually doesn't use a lot. Now, if you go to a restaurant, that is often considered to be banquet-style Chinese food. The stir fry there is often heavier on oils. That's when people go out to eat, just as virtually any restaurant around the world is going to be heavy in all kinds of flavors and fats and things like that. Why? Because that's good. It's delicious. We like it, right? But if we eat at restaurants all the time, it's generally not good. And so if somebody says, you know what, Chinese cooking is too much oil, that's the restaurant banquet food. If you go to a Chinese person's house, you probably will not find that much oil. Will you find some? Yes, of course. But I mean, virtually every cooking style uses some sort of oil, even if it's lard or something like that. So stir fry. Now remember, that whole tangent was to tell you, we're not talking about a ton of oil when we're talking about stir fry. Minimal, normal, rational, reasonable amount of oil, right? We're not doing deep frying. We'll get to deep frying later. That's not what this is. Very common, one of, if not the most common cooking style in China. The idea is the oil will cover the food and seal that food in, right? So whether you want to call it, in the West, we talk about nutrients and we talk about vitamins. In Chinese medicine, we talk about the qi and the flavors and the energies. No matter what point of view you want to look at it from, that oil heats it, activates the food, because there's a whole other discussion as well, but you definitely want to warm your foods. You want heat. You want your foods to be cooked. But then it seals those foods and it keeps all those energies and those nutrients in the foods. That is very important, where a lot of other cooking methods cannot necessarily achieve that. That is one big reason as to why stir fry with just enough oil is considered a very good way to eat food. The high heat used in stir frying can help lock in the flavors and nutrients of the ingredients. This is another thing. The way that Westerners do stir fry, often the heat is too low. If you look at a Chinese restaurants, they have these massive flames shooting out, and then they put this big wok on top of that. That gets hot, and they cook it. I mean, it is fast. They just throw the ingredients in, and then they're done, right? That is like real stir fry. So that warms it up really quickly, seals it in, and then you get it out of there. The longer you cook, the more nutritional, energetic loss you have. And so that's the science of this. You want high heat and you want real quick. Usually with the oil, they say like just a little bit of smoke is about to, doesn't quite is about to come out off the oil. That's when you do it. High heat. Balancing of yin and yang. Stir frying typically involves a combination of ingredients like vegetables, proteins, and seasonings. When done correctly, it can create a balanced dish with a mix of yin cooling and yang warm energies. So that is something very common that you see. Virtually every vegetable dish in China has a little bit of meat, and virtually every meat dish has some sort of vegetable or mushroom or something like that. It's not random. It's all about balance, okay? Rarely, especially in stir fry, are you going to see a purely meat stir fry dish or a purely vegetable stir fry dish. Even if it's just a little bit of ground pork for a little bit of flavor and oil, they'll put that in, right? Keep it all nice and balanced. Enhanced digestibility. Stir frying with a small amount of oil or cooking liquid can help break down tough fibers in vegetables and protein, making them easier to digest. So that fast cooking will still make it nice and soft and warm and gooey on the inside. Sometimes a little crisp on the outside, gooey on the inside. Sounds great. The quick cooking time helps maintain a freshness and crispness of vegetables, providing a satisfying texture. Yes, that is true. Stir-fried dishes are often well tolerated by the spleen and stomach in Chinese medicine. The high heat and short cooking time can help reduce the burden on these digestive organs, making it suitable for those with a weak digestive system. That leads me to another tangent. In Chinese medicine, we say, always protect the digestion. Always protect the spleen, stomach, because any nutrients you want to get from food, from herbs, It all goes through the spleen stomach first. That's the first thing that it does. Even if you have a strong digestion, you want to protect your digestion, okay? Doing things like drinking ice water. Oh, don't get me started. You're hurting yourself. Why would you hurt yourself, right? Why drink ice water and hurt yourself? Why do that? I don't understand it. You're great. I wouldn't do that to you. You do it to yourself. It's crazy. Anyway, always protect the spleen stomach. Stir fry is very flexible. You can stir fry anything. Why are there chopsticks? Okay, here's a fun little story for you. Originally, they didn't really have chopsticks. Like in the West, we have big knives and forks. They had knives at the dinner table, and then they found that guests started stabbing each other. Actually, there's a similar story in the West. That's why they started to provide knives for people so that people didn't bring their big, massive Bowie knives or whatever they had and would fight with each other in the West. The same problem, just don't bring knives to table. It's not a good thing. The Chinese one-upped them, though, right? In the West, you have your own knife, and it's not this serious knife. It's a more refined tableware knife. The Chinese said, you want to know what? We're going to cut everything up so you don't need a knife. You don't need a knife when you eat Chinese food. Have you ever noticed that? What Chinese dish do you need a knife for? Not a lot, I'll tell you that much, especially stir fry. It's all cut up for you. And that's why chopsticks are perfect, right? Chopsticks, one piece in the mouth, we're good to go. And that comes from wanting to avoid people bringing knives and stabbing each other. Very civilized, if you ask me. Stir frying is considered a method that can help reduce dampness in the body by quickly evaporating excess moisture. In Chinese medicine, we consider dampness to be one of the 6 evils, and it can enter into the body, and it can really slow stuff down. It can especially hurt your spleen and stomach. Many stir-fry dishes will have the magical root of the ginger. It will have garlic, and then it often has green onions or other types of onions, but green ones big. These 3 are the 3 magical ingredients used in so many Chinese dishes. They're not necessarily, all of them aren't used in all dishes. Some are, some certainly are. You have them all. If you want to hear a whole episode on that, let me know, because those things deserve a whole episode. Now we understand what stir frying is. All of our old notions of this banquet stir frying that we get at restaurants, that's for banquet style. That's not generally what we do at home. And so there are actually a lot of benefits. It's not unhealthy, which some people say it is. They are totally wrong, and I just proved them totally wrong. Next, steaming. Chinese cooking, steaming is very advanced. You'll see like these stacked up bamboo things. There's also metal ones. In the West, it's generally much more basic, but you want to know what? It's the same thing. You're just boiling water and the steam's going up. So even if you don't have one of those fancy contraptions, if you just have a basic one that we use in the West, you can do that as well. But I would highly recommend getting one of those. Plus, it looks cool. You invite people over, they see that in your kitchen, they know you're for real. You will see this in Chinese restaurants, especially like a very authentic Chinese restaurants. What you see often, though, are going to be like the various pastries and things like that. They'll often steam those. Sometimes you'll get steamed vegetables, but at home, if you go to a Chinese person's house, they're going to have a lot more things that are steamed meats and vegetables as just a way of cooking. Now, the first advantage, you're going to say, if you are against stir fry because it has oil, which is silly, but if you are that person, then you can try steaming because it doesn't use oil, okay? But it has very similar effects and benefits that stir fry does. So we're going to go over these. Steaming is considered a gentle cooking method that helps preserve the nutritional content of food. It is believed to retain more vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants compared to methods like boiling, which may leach nutrients into the cooking water. That is the big thing, right? Don't get me started on boiling. I don't even remember if I added it to this. If I did, it would be like all negative things because boiling takes all of the really good stuff out of the food and puts it into the water. Whereas steaming virtually does not do that at all because the steam is going up. It is warming the food. It is cooking the food, but then it is not coming out of the food, not like in boiling, where boiling gets all mixed in the water and then you throw the water out, which is all the good stuff, and you eat the food, which is then just fiber at this point, basically. So steaming gets around that, but it still uses water. And hey, guess what? Warm water isn't going to make you gain any weight, probably. TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, categorizes food into different energetic properties. This is an important point. Hot, warm, cool, cold, also neutral. Steaming is considered a neutral or balanced cooking method that helps maintain the original energetic properties of food. When we say, like the energetic temperature, this is different than the actual temperature. This is the concept of the effect that it has on the body. So if we say a food is a warming food, whether you eat that warm or cool, the effect on the body is warming. If it's a cooling food, whether you heat that or you do not, it has a cooling effect on the body. That is what we're talking about here. Steaming is neutral. And you want to know what? That's great. That is great because whether you are on the cool side or on the warm side, steaming is fine for you because it's neutral. It neither adds excessive heat, as in frying. Frying will add a little bit of heat, which is good if you're on the cool side, nor cools the food excessively, as in raw foods.
Don't even start with me on raw foods. I didn't even include it because that's not cooking.
And that's not a way to live. We do not live in caves anymore. Stop eating raw foods. Making it suitable for a wide range of ingredients. Yes, steamed foods are thought to be gentler on the spleen and stomach, making them a preferred choice for individuals with digestive concerns. Some of this is easy to understand. I mean, just think about a soft steamed food that has all the nutrients and energies in it, and then you eat it and it enters your stomach and it's nice and warm and soft. If I'm a stomach, I'm going to say thank you. That is very easy to digest. Whereas if I'm throwing in some raw, harsh something, if I'm the stomach, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? You want me to cook the food for you. That's your job. My job is digestion, not cooking. That's the stomach talking. Steamed foods are often considered more balanced in terms of yin and yang energies, right? That falls again into the neutral temperature. They are neither excessively heating yang nor cooling yin, making them a good choice for individuals looking to maintain a harmonious balance within their body. I don't know about you, but I want to have a harmonious balance in my body. Therefore, I'm going to steam food. Reduce excessive dampness. If you don't quite know what that is, you can either watch some of my other episodes where I talked about that, or even better, visit your local Chinese medicine practitioner, and they can very quickly assess and tell you whether you have dampness or not. Steaming can soften foods, we talked about that, making them suitable for individuals with weak digestive systems or those who require nourishment without taxing their digestive organs. You want to know what? I'm going to say that's everyone. No matter how good your digestion is, why tax your digestion if you don't have to, right? The goal is to make foods as easy to digest as possible, right? You think we like when we're sick, we eat chicken noodle soup. Think about how great you'd feel if you had chicken noodle soup all day, every day. You'd feel amazing. That's worth trying, actually. Okay. Talking about that, soups. Next is soups. Hydration and moistening. That's a no-brainer. I would think a soup would be moistening, right? Soups typically have a high water content, making them an excellent way to stay hydrated. Yes, Chinese medicine emphasizes the importance of maintaining balanced bodily fluids, and soup can help with this by adding moisture to the body. Now, generally speaking, in a Chinese meal, you will have a soup. So you might have some stir fry, you might have some things steamed, and you will also often have a soup. Rarely would someone go an entire day without eating soup. Why? Because soup is great soup is boiling without throwing out all the good stuff, right? So we talked about that. A lot of the good stuff ends up within the soup, within the water, within the broth, and then you can drink that. And that is very accessible to the spleen stomach. It is very easy. It virtually has to do nothing because it is a warm liquid. There is not, I mean, you just think like the physical process of the stomach having to move and work at breaking foods down and using the acids and stuff. Doesn't have to do any of that. Virtually none. It's like, oh, soup, just send that through. Send that right through, take the nutrients directly out of it. That's what soup does. Warming or cooling effects. You can make a soup, it can have whatever properties you add to it. And if you think about it, an herbal decoction, basically what that is it's a soup, and then you have removed the herbs and you're just drinking the liquid. Now, we wouldn't necessarily want to do that with foods because for an herbal decoction, we're looking at just those specific energies. So you're going to get that in the soup, and then you're going to get the actual meats and the vegetables and the fibers and all that other good stuff as well. You get the whole thing. It all stays in the soup. For the warming and cooling, you can make that however you want, right? You throw some ginger in, you make it warmer. Cucumber, you can cool it off some, right? You even throw a little mint in to make it cool if you want, right? Depending on what you need. Balanced nutrient intake. We went over that a little bit too, but again, it all gets kind of mixed in together in the soup, and then it's super easy to take those nutrients in. You want to know what a great thing about soup is that you can make something that is kind of half herbal formula, half soup. So you can actually add herbs to soups and make a superfood. All right, I have another video where you can see where we talk about black chicken soup. The whole video is about black chicken soup and all the herbs that you want to add to that. So if you are looking for a true superfood that uses the right cooking methods, the right foods, everything, and it has the right combinations, check out that video. But you don't have to even be that elaborate. Right? Sometimes just adding a few basic things. Now, I can do more videos on this. This generally messing with herbs is not something you should do willy-nilly because it's all about the combinations of them. In English, we'll say something like the medicinal hot pot. Medicinal hot pot. Yeah, it just means it adds some Chinese herbs to it. It's good. Try it. Comfort and nourishment. Yeah, I mean, especially too, if you're not feeling well, we have soups. So that's saying a lot about soups. Stews. Very similar to soups. Generally, though, a stew is going to be thicker, not so much on the water side. Some people maybe even will add starch and things like that to make it thicker. So we don't really have to go over this because that's basically all the same benefits of soup. It's just, not as much liquid. You find stews in every culture all over the world. They're virtually always good. You use earthenware for it. You put in fresh local vegetables and meats. How is that not amazing? Braising, for those of you who do not know what braising is a cooking method that involves searing food at a high temperature and then simmering it slowly in a flavorful liquid until it becomes tender. Braising typically involves moderate heat during the simmering phase, which can help preserve the balance of yin and yang energies in the food. It's going to keep the nutrients because it's kind of like soup, right? We don't have to go over that again. Balanced cooking method. Yes, you can do all types of braising, just as you can do all types of soups. The digestive benefits, right? For sure. Braised foods are typically tender and moist, making them gentle on the digestive system. The use of flavorful liquids can enhance the digestibility of the ingredients. Absolutely. So similar to soups in that way, right? Very similar. Customization, balance of yin and yang. Yes, braising can be used to prepare both warming and cooling dishes, depending on the ingredients and seasonings used. And dampness control, this is another thing. So it's going to be because you don't have as much liquid, right? Braising can be used to control dampness in food. TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, often recommends Braising certain ingredients to help alleviate dampness-related imbalances in the body. So braising, also a good technique. So far, so good. We have a variety of good ways to cook foods. Now we're going to talk about poaching, which is kind of the same as simmering. Poaching is a gentle cooking method that often involves simmering food in a liquid, often at a lower temperature than boiling. Okay, so we kind of don't have to go over this. I think it's self-explanatory. The benefits that we saw from soups and from simmering and braising and all of these different things, basically the exact same benefits you get for poaching, right? So that is good as well. Especially when we're talking about poaching, is that you are also using the liquids. That's especially good. If you're doing poaching where it's like you poach an egg and then you ditch the water, now we're starting to get in the area where it's not so good. That's a little bit on the boiling side. So if that's where you're doing it, not so good. Okay, here's a interesting newer method, sous vide, right? The French came up with this. Basically, if you don't know what that is you take a piece of meat or you take some food, you put it in a plastic bag, you seal that. It's a little more than that, but it's basically what it is. And you put it in boiling water, right? So you're boiling it, but you're not boiling it because all the everything stays in that bag. It's a sealed bag. It's like a vacuum sealed bag. It stays in that. Then when you eat it, you get the even distribution of heat from the water, but doesn't really truly touch the water. So it makes this very interesting. Energetically, it was boiled, but all the nutrients stayed in. Okay. Sounds like we're getting somewhere. Side note, it's in plastic, right? Now, we talked before about earthenware and metals. Plastic is not one of the 5 elements. Plastic, believe it or not, I know this will be hard to understand. It's not really good for you. I know. People are going to go crazy and say, what are you talking about? Plastic's great for you. Everyone should have plastic in your body. But I'm going out there and I'm saying probably not at all, actually. So that's one thing to consider with sous vide. We look at this and here are some of the benefits. Balanced heat, we just talked about that. Sous vide cooking involves precise cooking temperature, often at a lower temperature than other cooking methods. This controlled heat can help maintain a balanced yin and yang energy in food. Okay, that's good. Preservation of nutrients, we talked about that too. Sous vide cooked foods are often tender and moist, which can be gentle on the digestive system. It's similar to these other methods. In some ways, you could argue it's superior, but the plastic thing, I just can't get past the plastic thing. Now we get into the good stuff. When I say the good stuff, it's that line between, this is delicious, but is this even remotely healthy? Deep frying, yum, yum. What does deep frying do? Well, it is taking stir frying to a crazy extreme, right? Instead of putting a little bit of oil, you put the thing in bubbling oil and hope for the best. What does it do? Hey, guess what? Excessive heat, believe it or not. I know, crazy. Chinese medicine generally advises against excessive consumption of foods with heating properties, as it can disrupt the body's balance. Yes, now we're getting into it. Is deep fried food delicious? I'll let you be the judge of that. But the problem is it adds a lot of yang energy, and not in the good way, right? The greasy, sticky, not flowing well way. So if you're looking at getting yang energy, there's a lot better ways than eating deep fried food. Is it delicious though? Maybe. It uses an excessive amount of oil, whereas stir fry traditionally uses a very small amount of oil. Deep frying is considered an extreme method that does not promote balance. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a good thing here for deep frying. Loss of nutrients. Oh, another bad thing. The high heat and extended cooking time in deep frying can lead to a loss of nutrients of food. TCM values foods that are minimally processed and retain their natural qualities. And with deep frying, you are not doing that. Digestive concerns. This must be good, right? Oh, wait, it's not. The heavy, greasy nature of deep fried foods can place a burden on the digestive system. You think? Potentially causing issues for individuals with weak digestive constitutions. And if you have a strong digestive constitution, tell you what, not for long. If you're eating deep fried foods, enter the world of a weak digestion if you are big into deep fried foods. Inflammatory potential. Yeah, there's that too. Deep fried foods are often associated with inflammation and may exacerbate conditions related to excessive internal heat in Chinese medicine. Okay, I thought we were going to have at least one good thing for deep fried food, but I guess we don't. All right, so that's a big no. Generally, there is no. I mean, unless you just want something delicious, then I guess you could eat deep fried food. Maybe it makes you happy for that instant, so it can't be 100% bad, right? Red stewing. What is red stewing? The next cooking method. Chinese, it's called shao. So it is a cooking method that involves simmering, oh, I like the sound of that, ingredients in a flavorful soy sauce-based broth until they become tender and infused with rich flavors. Hey, that sounds great, right? It's a popular cooking method in China. Yes, it is. Let's analyze it. Heat and ingredients. Red stewing often involves the use of soy sauce, sugar, and sometimes other seasonings that can impart warming yang properties to the dish. This can make it less suitable for individuals looking to balance their yin and yang energies in line with TCM principles. TCM generally encourages a balance of cooling and warming foods. But, right, if you're a little on the cool side, maybe a little red stewing might do you some good. The use of soy sauce and salt in red stewing can contribute to higher sodium content in the dish, which may not align with TCM's emphasis on moderation in salt consumption. Excessive salt intake can disrupt the body's balance of fluid. Yeah, there's that too. Salt tastes good, but too much salt. Red stewing typically involves long cooking time to achieve the desired tenderness and flavor. While slow cooking can be beneficial for breaking down tough ingredients, yes, that's something we want, may not always align with TCM's preferences for quick cooking methods that preserve the natural properties of food. Okay, so it's kind of good. It's kind of good, but not 100%. Balancing ingredients. Yes, it's good. It's great for a balanced diet. Often includes a variety of ingredients, and red stewing. You can use a variety of ingredients. So that will help for a well-rounded diet. The richness and depth of flavor in red stewing dishes can be heavy on the digestive system, especially for individuals with weak digestion. TCM emphasizes foods that are gentle on spleen and stomach. So red stewing, as it's called, you see that more in restaurants than at home. I'm going out on a limb here and I'm saying you see it more in restaurants than at home. Why? Because it's delicious and amazing. But as we saw here, it does have some good sides to it. It's not 100% bad. So it's fine to have somewhat now and again, with somewhat frequency, not a bad thing. But, pretty heavy, pretty flavorful, a lot of salts. Probably we don't want to have that at every meal. Whereas if you have soups and stewing and stuff, you can do that all day long, no problem. Baking. Now we're getting into more Western style cooking. Have Chinese incorporated baking? Sure. Not a huge thing that they do though. But we can analyze it with traditional Chinese medicine principles. Moderate heat. Yeah, usually baking is a moderate heat. It's not going to be these massive flames coming out of, shooting up at the wok. Baking typically uses moderate, even heat, which is less likely to introduce excessive heat, yang energy, into the food compared to grilling or deep frying. We haven't gotten to grilling yet. We will get there. This aligns better with TCM's principle on moderation. Yes, it does. Retaining nutrients. Generally, right, baking can help retain the nutritional content of ingredients because it is a gentler cooking method compared to high heat. However, it's important not to overbake foods to avoid nutrient loss. You will lose more nutrients through baking than you will with stir fry, steaming, soups, things like that. So if it's done well, especially if you like do the thing where you put tinfoil on top, you can kind of reduce the amount of nutrients lost. You don't lose a lot, but you do lose some. Keep that in mind. Balanced cooking method, yes, it's good for you can do all kinds of things. Customization, yes, you can bake all kinds of things. Digestive benefits. Okay, baked foods are often tender and moist if they're done right, making them gentle on the digestive system, right? Whereas we've all had things that have been overbaked and they are not tender and not moist and therefore not helpful to the digestion. The use of flavorful seasonings and marinades can enhance the digestibility of ingredients. I like that. Balancing yin and yang, baking can be used to prepare both warming and cooling dishes, depending on the choice of ingredients and seasonings. Absolutely. Dampness control. For sure it has dampness control. Generally it's going to be a little bit more on the dry side because you are using dry heated air to cook your food. Baking can be used to control dampness in foods. TCM often recommends baking certain ingredients to help alleviate dampness-related imbalances in the body. Yeah, sometimes even when we're preparing herbs, we will use different types of baking or like a dry stir fry, right? So no oil, just using dry heat because it has different effects on those herbs. And so one of them is getting rid of dampness. Okay, casseroles. Casserole is kind of the same thing as baking because you bake them. But one kind of thing in particular, a couple things for casseroles. One, that container that it's used, it's often earthenware. Great, get a thumbs up for that. And casseroles often have a mixture of meats and vegetables and grains. And so that is really wonderful in creating a dish that you can kind of just eat that, and it has everything in it. There is something to be said about that, about having all the foods nice and combined together. We already went over baking, so all the other things for baking apply. That's just casseroles in particular. Roasting. Okay, roasting is a cooking method that involves cooking food in an oven at high temperatures, often with dry heat. This you will see more in Chinese cooking. Here's some issues with it though. Excessive heat. Roasting typically exposes food to high temperatures, which can introduce excessive yang energy. We've heard that before. Potential nutrient loss. Yeah, high temperatures and extended cooking times in roasting can lead to nutrient loss, particularly heat-sensitive vitamins and antioxidants. Okay. Imbalance of cooking methods. Yeah, we're more into a balance, whereas roasting, is not really so balanced, right? Doesn't really maintain the energetic properties of food as well. Digestive is a concern. Roasting can be heavy and dry, which places a burden on the digestive system. So especially if you have a weak digestion, you might want to avoid roasted food. And then the potential for dryness. Yes, we've all had the Thanksgiving where the turkey was way too dry, right? That not only doesn't taste good, it's not good for you. You want a balance, right? You want moist, but not necessarily too much, but you don't want too dry. You want kind of nice in the middle. Roasting, kind of on the dry side, unless you get somebody who's really good at it. Next, barbecuing and grilling. It's just out on fire. Well, what happens? What does Chinese medicine say about that? That's a little bit different, right? Because everything else it's in some sort of container, this is just out on fire, just going for it. Barbecue involves cooking food over direct heat or an open flame, which can introduce excessive heat, yang energy into the food. This can be challenging for individuals seeking to balance their yin and yang energies. Again, that is everyone. Charred and grilled meats. They must be good for you, right? Because they taste good, right? Right? The charring and grilling of meat in barbecue can lead to formation of potentially harmful compounds. Oh, gosh. Such as, I can't pronounce it, but it's HCAs, and can't pronounce that either, PAHs. I certainly don't want HCAs or PAHs. Nobody does, which are associated with an increased risk of certain health issues. Darn. Barbecued, especially grilled meats, can be tough and dry. Yeah, especially if it's not done well. Potentially placing a burden on the digestive system. Again. It's just not really, seems like it's not worth it. Maybe once in a while? Once in a while. Imbalance of cooking methods, yes. So barbecue is considered a more extreme cooking method. Once in a while, though, right? Marinades and sauces. Use of marinade and sauces can introduce additional ingredients such as sugar and salt that might not be good for you. So there we go. We have cooking methods. To recap: stir fry, light oil, steam, good. Soups, go for it. Stews, good. You want to get into braising and a little bit of poaching, that's fine too. But once you start introducing really high heats for extended periods of time, no good. Excessive oils, as in deep fry, not normal stir fry, but excessive deep fry, not good. And throwing a piece of meat directly on a raging fire, believe it or not the best way to digest and get the nutrients of that meat. So now we know. All right. Please go and check out my website, ancientlifehacks.com. There's going to be, we're building it out now. There's going to be a lot of good information on there. Sign up for my newsletter. You can get my notes. These are way too long to include in the description, but I will put that. It'll either be on the website or the newsletter. Go check that out. Also, too, if you look down in the description, you will see a link to go see Shenyun Performing Arts. I am the MC for Shenyun Performing Arts, and from late December to mid-May, we are on tour. It is the world's premier classical Chinese dance company. So if you are looking for a night out for a healthy, wholesome, energetic, exciting show, that is the show to watch. I will be there emceeing, or there might be another MC, because we have 8 companies as of this taping that tour the world simultaneously. With the link below, you can buy tickets and have the booking fee waived. If you're watching this video not during our tour season, hey, no problem. You can check out Shenyun Zuopian or Shenyun Creations. I have also left a link in the description below, and that has a lot of videos of dances and music and all kinds of good traditional Chinese things, values, all kinds of good stuff that you can find on there. All right, that's it for me. I will see you next week. Please forward this video to your friends and family and get that good cooking method going. All right, see you next week.